The morning looks harmless, too harmless. Sunlight spills gently across a quiet street and the palm trees barely move as if the world itself is holding its breath. Nothing about this place suggests danger. Nothing warns you that a life-changing decision is already in motion. Inside that calm, something dark is awake. A woman stands in the kitchen. She smiles easily, the kind of smile people trust without thinking. Perfect teeth, relaxed eyes, a soft voice that never rises too high. She looks like safety, like home, like the last person you would ever fear. But behind that smile lives a question that changes everything. What is a human life worth in dollars? This story begins the way so many tragedies do, quietly. Not with violence, not with screams, but with routine. A marriage that looks normal from the outside. A house with shared walls and shared memories. A husband who believes the most dangerous things in life exist somewhere far away, never inside his own home. And a wife who has already started imagining a future where he no longer exists. Dalia Dippolito doesn't look angry. She doesn't look broken. She doesn't look desperate. She looks composed, controlled, focused. While others might argue or cry or beg, she does something far more unsettling. She calculates, she weighs options, she studies outcomes. She thinks in terms of gain and loss, not right and wrong. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, money moves to the center of everything. Insurance policies, property, financial freedom. A life that feels lighter without the man standing across from her at the breakfast table. Love doesn't fade here, it collapses. There is no long goodbye, no emotional unraveling. One day it is simply gone, replaced by something colder, greed, control, finality. Where affection once lived, intention takes its place. Sharp, silent, permanent. She doesn't plan a divorce. She plans an ending. In her mind, this isn't cruelty, it's efficiency. A clean solution to a problem she no longer wants to tolerate. She imagines a future where no one asks questions, where she is the grieving wife, wrapped in sympathy, comforted by neighbors, pitied by strangers. A tragedy, they'll say, so young, so sudden, so unfair. And she will nod, eyes down, tears perfectly timed. Every step she takes is careful, every word rehearsed before it's spoken, every reaction tested in her mind before it ever reaches her face. This isn't rage spilling over. This isn't a crime of passion. This is strategy. She wants it quiet, professional, precise. A death that looks like fate, not choice. The most terrifying part is not what she plans, it's what she believes afterward. She believes she can walk away untouched. No blood on her hands, no guilt on her conscience. Just money in her pocket and a story the world will accept without hesitation. She believes grief can be performed. That innocence can be worn like clothing. That truth is something other people worry about. As the days pass, the space between husband and wife grows colder. Conversations shorten. Eye contact fades. Trust begins to evaporate without either of them naming it. Doors close more often. Phone calls get quieter. Secrets settle into the corners of the house. He feels it but can't explain it. That sense that something is wrong but not knowing what. The way you sometimes feel watched without seeing anyone there. The way silence lingers too long after a question is asked. She, meanwhile, grows calmer. With every secret conversation, her confidence grows. With every whispered plan, the line between wife and predator blurs further. She stops seeing him as a person. He becomes an obstacle, a final step before freedom. And somewhere beyond the walls of that quiet home, beyond the smiling neighbors and the sunlit street, a decision is already moving toward action. It doesn't arrive loudly. It doesn't announce itself. It advances patiently, waiting for the moment when thought becomes commitment and commitment becomes something that can't be undone. This is not just a story about murder. It's a story about deception, about how intimacy can be weaponized, about how the person who knows your routines, your fears, your weaknesses, can become the most dangerous person in your life. It's about the illusion of safety, the lie that evil always looks monstrous. Sometimes it looks like a smile across the kitchen counter. Sometimes it sounds like a soft voice asking how your day was. And sometimes the deadliest thing in the room is silence, because silence gives space for thoughts to grow, for intentions to harden, for lines to be crossed without anyone noticing until it's too late. As this chapter closes, nothing has happened yet. No crime scene, no police lights, no breaking news. Just a woman with a plan, a man who doesn't know he's in danger, and a calm that feels almost cruel in how ordinary it is. But the decision has already been made. And once a mind crosses that line, there is no turning back, only forward into consequences that haven't revealed themselves yet. The quiet mourning remains, for now. The moment a thought is spoken out loud, it stops being harmless. It gains weight, shape, direction, and once it does, it demands action. For Dahlia, that moment comes quietly. No dramatic declaration, no sudden breakdown, just a decision settling into place, heavy and permanent. Once the idea takes root, it doesn't scare her. It comforts her. It gives her clarity. She doesn't hesitate. She doesn't look back. She begins searching not for answers, not for peace, but for a person. Someone willing to do what she believes she cannot do herself. Someone who can turn imagination into reality. Her words are careful at first, casual, almost testing the ground beneath her feet. But each sentence pushes her closer to the edge. Words become whispers. Whispers become plans. Plans become promises. Every conversation tightens the trap. Every step forward quietly burns the bridge behind her. Turning back becomes harder with every sentence she speaks, every detail she shares. This is no longer a thought experiment. This is movement. She talks about her husband differently now. Not as a man, not as a partner, but as a problem. A complication standing between her and the life she wants. The way someone might talk about a broken appliance or a bad investment, something that needs to be removed. Love disappears completely. Numbers take its place. Insurance amounts, property value, financial freedom. She reduces a human life to outcomes and benefits, to gains and losses. Emotion is no longer useful here. Emotion clouds judgment, so she strips it away. And then she finds him, or at least she believes she has, a man who listens without interrupting, a man who doesn't ask moral questions, a man whose voice stays calm, flat, professional. He doesn't flinch when she talks. He doesn't react when she crosses lines most people wouldn't even approach. To her, he sounds like certainty, like death wearing a human voice. With him, she becomes bolder, more detailed. She describes her husband's routines, when he leaves, when he returns, which doors he uses, which ones he forgets to lock. She talks about timing the way a director talks about scenes, not messy, not dramatic, just final. She explains how it should look when it's over. No chaos, no spectacle, just a clean ending that leaves no fingerprints. She wants control even in death. Control over the story. Control over perception. Control over how the world will remember what happens next. Then comes the price. It's discussed casually, almost politely, as if they're negotiating furniture, as if a life can be measured in cash and settled with a handshake. There's no hesitation in her voice, no crack, no pause, just numbers exchanged like they're nothing more than numbers. With every detail she shares, the danger grows. The more she talks, the more confident she becomes. She believes she's orchestrating something flawless. That intelligence alone can defeat consequence. She rehearses her future in her mind over and over. The phone call she'll make, the tears she'll show, the way people will look at her with sympathy instead of suspicion. She imagines neighbors hugging her, friends consoling her, a community rallying around the poor widow whose husband was taken too soon. She imagines herself safe inside that lie, protected by the performance she's already perfected. What she doesn't see is what's happening beyond her control, because the man listening is not who she thinks he is. While she speaks, while she plans, while she exposes her intent piece by piece, something else is forming quietly in the background. Every word is being absorbed, every sentence remembered, not as a promise, but as evidence. The plan she believes is airtight is already developing cracks, but she doesn't notice. She's too focused on the future she thinks she's buying, too convinced of her own cleverness, too sure that she's one step ahead of everyone else. The tension tightens around her like a noose she can't feel yet. One wrong word, one misplaced sentence, one detail too many, that's all it would take for everything to collapse, and still she keeps going, confident, calm, certain she is untouchable. She believes the world is blind, that people see what they're told to see. That truth can be shaped if you speak clearly enough and cry at the right moments. She believes intelligence outruns morality, that planning outruns fate. She doesn't understand that fate has already started listening, quietly, patiently, waiting for the moment when her own voice will betray her. As this chapter ends, nothing has exploded yet. No arrests, no headlines, no sudden turn. Just a woman moving forward, unaware that the very person she trusts to erase her problem is actually guiding her toward exposure. The plan is still alive, but so is the trap. And it's closing. The moment doesn't arrive with sirens or screams. It arrives quietly, almost politely. A simple knock at the door, one pause too long, silence so thick it presses against the walls. Dahlia believes it's over. In her mind, the story has already ended. The problem has been erased. The man she wanted gone is gone. She stands on the edge of the future she planned so carefully, already slipping into the role she rehearsed 100 times. The grieving wife, the shocked survivor, the woman everyone will rush to protect. She readies her face, softens her eyes, prepares the tears she knows how to summon on command. Then the door opens and the truth walks in instead. Police officers fill the doorway, not rushed, not aggressive, calm, certain. Behind them, cameras hum quietly, their lenses unblinking. Their eyes don't search the room. They already know what they're looking for. In that instant, her world freezes. The air drains from the room. The future she imagined shatters before it can even begin. This is not how it was supposed to happen. This is not the scene she rehearsed. Her mind races, trying to catch up, trying to rewrite reality in real time. But reality has already arrived. The man she trusted, the man she believed would make everything disappear, was never a killer. He was never her escape. He was a mirror, held up slowly, patiently, reflecting back everything she tried not to see. Every word she spoke in secret now echoes loudly. Every plan she whispered has been preserved, recorded, documented, waiting. The evidence doesn't rush, it stacks. one piece on top of another, heavier than denial, sharper than any accusation. Her smile falters first. It trembles at the edges, unsure whether to exist or vanish. Her voice follows, suddenly thinner, less controlled. The confidence she wore like armor begins to crack. Control slips from her grasp, not all at once, but in small, humiliating moments she can't stop. This is the moment where fantasy dies. She tries to explain. Words tumble out, tangled and desperate. She reframes, she minimizes. She laughs nervously at the wrong moments. She reaches for excuses that sound hollow the moment they leave her mouth. She tells herself she can still steer this, that this is just another performance. But reality doesn't negotiate. The cameras keep rolling. The officers keep listening. And then comes the moment she can't undo. Her husband is alive, standing there, breathing, watching. The man she believed was already erased steps forward into the room, and the space between them fills with something heavier than anger, betrayal, raw and unmistakable, the kind that doesn't need words to be understood. His eyes search her face, not for explanations, but for recognition, for some sign that the woman he married is still there. What he finds instead is a stranger, someone who planned his absence with terrifying calm. Violence would have been easier to process. A fight, a moment of rage, something human. This is worse. This is premeditation. This isn't just a failed murder, it's exposure, public and irreversible. The image she built so carefully collapses in seconds. The mask doesn't slip, it shatters. The loving wife becomes the accused. The woman who thought she was orchestrating everything is now standing at the center of her own trap. Her own words tighten around her like restraints. She hears them played back. Sentences she once spoke confidently now sound cold, calculated, unforgivable. There is no context that can soften them, no explanation that can erase intent. For the first time, she is not in control of the narrative. The power shifts, silently but completely, from hunter to hunted. She looks around the room, suddenly aware of how small it feels, how exposed. The walls that once felt like protection now feel like witnesses. Every corner seems to remember what she said inside it. Every quiet moment feels louder than any accusation. The officers don't need to raise their voices. The evidence does the talking for them. Calm questions replace confrontations. They already know the answers. This isn't an investigation anymore. It's a reckoning. Her husband doesn't speak much. He doesn't need to. His presence alone is devastating, alive, unbroken, and forever changed. Trust doesn't survive moments like this. As she's led away, the performance she practiced so carefully finally collapses, not into convincing grief, but into confusion, fear. A realization she never planned for. She wasn't smarter than consequence. She wasn't invisible, she wasn't untouchable. The trap didn't close with violence, it closed with truth, with patience, with her own voice turned against her. And as the cameras continue to roll, as the room empties, one question lingers in the silence she once relied on. If the person closest to you can plan your end so quietly, how safe is anyone really? The chapter ends not with resolution, but with aftermath, with lives split into before and after, with a woman who believed she could erase someone else, now facing the slow realization that she has erased the life she thought she would live. And the consequences are only just beginning. The courtroom is quiet in a way that feels unnatural, not peaceful, not respectful, just empty. The kind of silence that presses against your chest and refuses to let go. No dramatic music plays here. No sympathetic murmurs, no comforting words, only the sound of breathing and the weight of what's already been decided. Dahlia sits alone, not surrounded by supporters, not shielded by explanations. Just her, a chair, and the choices she made when she thought no one was watching. The money she wanted so badly has lost all meaning here. Numbers don't matter in this room. Neither do plans. Neither do excuses. What remains is time. Long, heavy, unforgiving. She stares forward, but her eyes don't seem focused on anything in front of her. Maybe they're looking backward instead. At the moment she crossed a line she believed she could erase. At the confidence she once had, now stripped down to fear and regret. The future she imagined, freedom, comfort, a clean escape, has vanished completely. Her plan didn't fail because it was careless. It failed because greed always leaves fingerprints. This story isn't about how smart someone thinks they are. It's not about charm or beauty or confidence. It's about desire. About what happens when wanting something badly enough convinces you that rules no longer apply to you, that people become obstacles, that morality becomes optional. She believed murder would free her. Instead, it exposed her. Every layer she used to hide behind has been peeled away. The smile, the calm voice, the performance of innocence. In the harsh light of consequence, none of it survives. What's left is intention, clear, documented, undeniable. Her husband is alive, but the life they once shared is not. Trust doesn't heal from this. It doesn't slowly rebuild. It doesn't return with apologies or explanations. It disappears completely, leaving behind something hollow and permanent. A wound that didn't need violence to exist, only betrayal. Their lives are now split forever, before and after, not by a bullet, not by blood, but by a decision made quietly behind closed doors. A decision fueled by money, control, and the belief that one life was worth less than a payout. Sometimes the deadliest weapon isn't a gun, it's betrayal. In the courtroom, the details are laid out methodically, calmly. There's no drama in the delivery, no raised voices, just facts, dates, words spoken in confidence now repeated out loud. The same words that once felt powerful now sound small, ugly, final. Dahlia listens as her own voice comes back to her through recordings, stripped of context, stripped of justification. There's no arguing with it, no way to explain it away. The person speaking in those recordings is undeniable. That person is her. She thought she was planning a crime. What she was really doing was documenting her own undoing. Around her, strangers sit in quiet judgment. Some watch with curiosity, some with disbelief, some with that unsettling realization that this didn't come from chaos or madness, but from calculation, from someone who looked normal, sounded normal, lived a normal life. That's what makes it frightening. Behind every true crime headline is a warning. Not all danger announces itself. Not all evil looks violent. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it shares a home with you. Sometimes it speaks softly and waits patiently. The quietest moments often carry the loudest truths. This wasn't just a crime committed in secret. It was a choice made again and again. A choice to keep going. A choice to believe she was above consequence. A choice to value money over life. And choices don't disappear. They wait. They follow. They come back in courtrooms, in verdicts, in long years measured not by freedom but by regret. They come back in the middle of the night when there's no one left to deceive, when the performance ends, when silence finally has nothing left to hide. As the proceedings move forward, there's no sense of closure, no satisfying end, only reality settling into place. A life reshaped by one irreversible decision. A reminder that some lines once crossed erase everything behind them. She sits still as the weight of it all sinks in. And somewhere beyond the courtroom walls, the world keeps moving. Morning routines resume. Streets fill with sunlight. People trust the smiles they see, unaware of how thin the line truly is. The story ends here, but the warning doesn't. Because when money becomes more valuable than life, everything else is already lost. And the echoes of that choice don't fade. They linger.